Good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure and honor to speak to such a distinguished audience. I met President Nikias in Taipei last February with a mutual friend. We enjoyed our conversation so much that the president invited me to deliver a speech at USC. I happily complied. Now, I'm here at one of the best university in the United States and the best known university in Taiwan. Before I get to the topic of my speech, balancing superpowers in East Asia, the Republic of China, Taiwan's grand strategy, I would like to give you a little background on Taiwan. Taiwan, officially known as the Republic of China, ROC, is an island province of the ROC located 140 kilometers, about 90 miles, east to the Chinese mainland and separated by Taiwan Strait. It has an area of 36,000 square kilometers, or 14 square thousand miles, and a population of 23.5 million people. Taiwan is an area, the 143rd largest, and the population 53rd largest in the world. Taiwan's per capita GDP on PPP, purchasing power parity basis, is 48,000, which is ahead of Canada, United Kingdom, France, Japan, and South Korea, but behind Switzerland, Singapore, and Hong Kong, and the United States. Taiwan is also the largest trading nation in the world and the ninth largest trading partner of the US, while the US is Taiwan's second largest trading partner. Taiwan is situated amid the world's largest economy, the United States, the second largest economy, mainland China, and the third largest economy, Japan. The upside of this situation is that the Taiwanese speak better Chinese than Americans and the Japanese. They speak better English than the mainland Chinese and the Japanese. And they speak better Japanese than the mainland Chinese and the American. My English teacher 40 years ago once said in class, he said, if a person speaks 3 languages, he's trilingual. If he speaks 2 languages, he's bilingual. If he speaks only 1 language, he's an American. Today, the monolingual person most likely is not an American. The downside is that we are caught in the crosshairs of great power competition between the most powerful nation, the US, and the emerging power, the mainland China. The great power competition makes Taiwan strategically important. No wonder some people say Taiwan is an unsinkable aircraft carrier, while others describe Taiwan as an immobile aircraft carrier. So in the realm of international political economy, Taiwan and its 16 neighbors in the vicinity of mainland China take mainland China as their largest trading partner. Mainland China is also the largest destination of Taiwan's outward investment. As a consequence, in 2016, mainland China and Hong Kong combined took about 39% of Taiwan's merchandise exports. Taiwan enjoys a large trade surplus with mainland China, averaging around $70 billion per year. This is much larger than Taiwan's global trade surplus, which averages about 30 to 40 billion a year. So this means that without trade with mainland China, Taiwan would have had a large trade deficit. While the mainland Chinese market enriches Taiwan, Taiwan has greatly diversified its export to destinations to avoid concentrating on a single market. The complex and strategic political and economic situation in East Asia require that the Republic of China adopt a grand strategy to face the challenges of balancing the interests of these superpowers. When I was president from 2008 to 2016, my grand strategy was simple. Build a peaceful relationship with mainland China, maintain a friendly relationship with Japan, and strengthen a close relationship with the United States. Let me begin with mainland China. When the People's Republic of China, the PRC, was established in 1949, the civil war between the Communist forces and the ROC troops was not finished yet. The Battle of Gunintou in Jinmen on October 25th, the ROC forces effectively defeated the mainland China's invading troops, leading to the 67-year-old separate rule between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. The US and ROC signed a mutual defense treaty in 1954. The treaty helped Taiwan survive the 1958 Taiwan Strait crisis, better known as the August 23rd artillery battle, where the mainland forces fired nearly 500,000 artillery shells on the small island of Kinmen 823炮站. In 1972, the US President Richard Nixon and mainland Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai signed the Shanghai Communique, in which the US acknowledged that either side of the Taiwan Strait maintained that there's only one China, and Taiwan is part of China. The US did not challenge that position. In 1979, the US formally recognized the PRC and severed diplomatic relations with the ROC, terminating the Mutual Defense Treaty of 1954 and withdrew all the American forces from the island. At the time, I was working on my doctoral thesis at Harvard Law School. One day I came across Professor Vox, my thesis advisor, in the hallway of the law library. He tried to comfort me by saying, I know how you feel these days, Ying-jeou, but you got to understand, Taiwan is the most unrecognized government of the United States. Well, meanwhile, mainland China ceased all artillery shelling of Kinmen and called for cross-strait contact in mail, trade, and transportation. In 1982, mainland China leader Deng Xiaoping offered one country, two system proposal to Taiwan as a plan for reunification, but it was rejected by President Jiang Jingguo, who preferred one country with only one good system. 5 years later, the ROC government decided on November 2nd, 1987, almost exactly 30 years ago, to allow family reunion visit between the two sides after a 38-year ban. This unprecedented move not only warmed the hearts of the people across the Taiwan Strait, but opened a window of opportunity for cross-strait reconciliation. On November 16, 1992, the two sides, after 3 weeks of vigorous discussion, reached a consensus that both sides of the Taiwan Strait adhere to the one China principle, yet they differ on its meaning. They may orally express their interpretation separately. This is the now famous 92 consensus, one China respective interpretations. I announced my cross-strait position in my inaugural address on May 20th, 2008, maintaining the status quo in the Taiwan Strait with a policy of no reunification, no independence, and no use of force under the framework of the Republic of China Constitution. No unification means no unification talks with mainland China during my term of office. The ROC's constitution does not preclude the possibility of reunification, but there is no time frame. it is simply unlikely that within my term living of 8 years, the two sides could go far as to discuss reunification. No independence means no support for the Taiwan independence movement. No use of force is self-explanatory. The objective of this three-no policy was to facilitate the peaceful development of cross-strait relations on the basis of the 1992 consensus. With new policy in place, we were able to sign 23 agreements with mainland China from 2008 to 2016, covering a wide range of subjects. The number of mainland Chinese visitors rose from 290,000 in 2007 to 4.2 million last year, up 14 times, while mainland Chinese students rose 50 times over the time from 823 to 42,000. There was an interesting episode on my re-election day, January 14th, 2012. In the evening, many young people gathered in my campaign headquarters to watch the vote counting process on TV. Two students, one from the mainland and the other from Taiwan, were interviewed by a European reporter on the spot. The reporter asked the Taiwan student what he thought about the election. The Taiwan student boasted, "Look, how efficient our election system is. We cast the vote in the morning and we get the result in the evening on the same day." Then the reporter turned to ask the mainland student, who said, "Well, that's nothing. At home, we also cast the vote in the morning, but we know the result the day before." The mainland students' sense of humor is amazing. The dialogue obviously shows that a friendship is growing between Taiwan and the mainland student. The earlier they become friends in their life, I believe, the greater the chance of sustainable peace between Taiwan and the mainland. This is exactly what I want to see. The number of Taiwan visitors to the mainland remain constant at around 5 million a year. High officials of the two sides met and called each other by their official titles, a move unprecedented in history. Culminating in the meeting of mainland Chinese leader Xi Jinping and myself in Singapore 2 years ago, today, Taiwan and mainland time. Both of us formally reconfirmed the fundamental rules of the 1982 consensus. We agreed to reduce hostilities between us and expand and deepen cross-strait interchange in all aspects. Cross-strait relations are at their best in 66 years, and Taiwan Strait, which used to be a bloody battle, has become a boulevard of peace and prosperity. The Ma-Xi summit attracted 200 media agencies and 600 reporters to Singapore. It's interesting to know that on the day after the summit, the Indonesian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said in a press conference that if Taiwan and mainland China leaders want to meet again, please come to Jakarta. Well, another interesting and illustrative episode that the most popular souvenir mainland tourists buy in Kinmen Island, the battleground of August 23rd artillery shelling battle in 1958, is a kitchen knife made from artillery shell. This shows that mainland China now send only tourists to Kinmen, not artillery shells anymore. I finished my two-term presidency on May 20th, 2016. The peaceful and prosperous status quo I have worked so hard to maintain began to crumble, due primarily to the new administration's refusal to accept the 92 consensus, which is part of the status quo in the cross-strait policy. The stalemate and tension left few aspects of life in Taiwan unaffected. Almost all official communication channels between the two sides were shut off. Mainland visitors and students decreased sharply. Many cooperation projects came to a stop. The World Health Organization, WHO, and the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, no longer invited Taiwan to attend their annual conferences. Two diplomatic airlines, Sao Tome and Principe and Panama, severed diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Only 20 airlines left. Many hotels, restaurants, gift shops, tour bus companies, travel agencies ceased operation or encountered serious difficulties. Some of the shops in Sun Lake, once a top tourist attraction, are forced to take 5 days off a week. 周休5日. The cross-strait relations enter into a cold winter, if not a cold war. The appointment of a pro-Taiwan independence premier in September by President Tsai this year only made the situation worse. The mainland's President Xi, and during the Chinese Communist Party's 19th Party Congress last October, that as long as Taiwan accepts the 92 consensus, cross-strait dialogue can be restored. It remains to be seen whether Taiwan's leader has the wisdom and courage to respond positively. Well, second, I want to talk about Japan. Taiwan has a special historic relationship with Japan. The island was ceded to Japan in 1895 when Qing China lost the first Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895. Taiwan was under Japanese colonial rule for 50 years until the end of World War II, and retroceded to the ROC in October 1945. Taiwan-Japan relations as well made important strides during 2008 to 2016. In some cases, we even saw historic progress. I call this relationship a special partnership because Japan is Taiwan's third largest trading partner and an important source of direct investment and new technology, despite the lack of formal diplomatic ties. Taiwan signed 28 agreements with Japan during my presidency, about 50% of the total since 1972, when the two countries severed diplomatic relations. One of these agreements is the 2013 Taiwan-Japan Fisheries Agreement, which allows fishermen from Taiwan and Okinawa to operate in a maritime zone of 70,000 square kilometers, nearly twice the size of Taiwan, near the disputed Diaoyuta Island, or Senkaku Gonto, as the Japanese call it. The agreement allows the two sides to freely use the disputed area, and that is a very important step toward a better East Asian order. And it's also very important to know that the fishermen of the northeast part of Taiwan was very happy about this fishery agreement because they could try their best to catch as much as possible. So as you can see, other countries in the region, other than Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and ASEAN countries, and the European Union all gave very high praise to this agreement. And well, actually, as I found, almost no country in the world say anything bad about this agreement, but there's only one exception. Ladies and gentlemen, can you tell me who? Take a guess. If you get the right answer, you will receive a gift from me. Anyone? Which country opposes or feel unhappy about this agreement? Okay, if you don't know the answer, I'll tell you. The only party who is unhappy about agreement is fish. You know why? Because the catch of fish increased 3 times. We have to thank the cooperation of all these fish. Before the agreement was signed, there were 17 fishery dispute in 2012, but the number went down to only 1 in 2013 and 0 thereafter 2014. So the agreement was very much welcome, as I said, by US, by ASEAN, by Australia, New Zealand, European Union, as a successful example of peaceful settlement of international dispute. Well, as I said, it has a lot of to do with the Taiwan fishermen because they've been fishing in that part of the East China Sea for over 100 years. And the catch of fish increased quite a lot. Next. Well, another important step forward is the Open Skies Agreement of 2011, which unconditionally opened all Japanese commercial airports except two airports in Tokyo to Taiwan airliners, which with beyond rights, the fifth of freedom to other cities. Moreover, the agreement places no restriction on the number of flights and the plane type. This move has led to a dramatic increase in two-way tourist arrivals from 2.5 million to more than 5 million between Taiwan and Japan. After the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and the Fukushima nuclear incident, Taiwanese people donated more than $200 million for the relief efforts, which amount was larger than the total of the other 93 donor countries combined. My wife and I joined volunteers in a telethon in March 2011 to solicit donations, and the event was televised live in Japan. Japanese people were moved and very grateful. And in the following year, hundreds of VIPs and groups visit Taiwan to show their gratitude by a big sign that says, 感谢台湾, thank you Taiwan. In 2014, Taiwan's National Palace Museum held an unprecedented exhibition of its top art collections for 3 months each in Tokyo and Kyushu National Museums, creating a big crowd every day. Many felt that Taiwanese-Japan relationship were at its best since it has been since 1972. Now I want to talk the United States. Taiwan's relations with the US were at their lowest point when I took office. For a while, Taiwan was considered a troublemaker to US mainland relations. So the first thing I did was to restore bilateral high-level trust through a series of low-key and surprise fee actions. The US continued to honor commitment under the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act by selling Taiwan $20 billion worth of defense military hardware in 8 years, the highest figure in 2 decades, far exceeding sales under previous presidents. In 2002, the US included Taiwan in the visa waiver program. Taiwan is the only one among the 38 recipient countries in the program that does not have formal diplomatic ties with the US. The decision was widely welcomed by the people of Taiwan. Taiwan visitors to the US increased by at least 20% as a result. As you know, Taiwan tourists not only admire American way of life, they're also very serious shoppers. They definitely have contributed to the reduction of the American trade deficit with Taiwan. Recently, Taiwan has further included in the Global Entry Program, which makes it even more convenient Taiwan visitors. So certainly, they will contribute more to your economy. The US strongly welcomed the rapprochement between Taiwan and mainland China. As Susan Thornton, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State of the State Department, in May 2015 said that the Taiwan-US relations are the best ever. It is attributable to stable management of cross-strait relations by the Ma government. Now, let me come to my concluding remarks. First, mainland China has changed so much in the last 30 years. Economically, Taiwan's GDP was around 30% of mainland China's in the 1980s. But now, mainland China's economy is 20 times Taiwan's. Although Taiwan's per capita GDP nominal and purchasing power parity based, is still 3 times that of the mainland China's. Besides, mainland China has successfully lifted 300 to 600 million people out of poverty. This is unprecedented in world history, and something that we should really keep in mind. Second, there is no doubt that the United States still honors its commitment under the Taiwan Relations Act to continue providing Taiwan with defensive arms. Japan also can play a role on certain issues to support us. But Taiwan must understand neither of them can help us stop our diplomatic allies from establishing diplomatic relations with mainland China, or to help us get into WHA, ICAO, or the other international organizations. We have to do it ourselves. We have to use the 92 consensus to stop the current cross-strait relations from going further down. Number 3, this is my 8 years has shown, and that can be done and should be done without sacrificing our national dignity, interests, and security. Then the 92 consensus is practically a de facto contract proposed by Taiwan in November 1992, exactly 25 years ago, and was accepted wholly by the mainland side on November 16, 1992. If Taiwan fails to honor this de facto contract it proposed, there can be no trust between the two sides. It will be unreasonable for Taiwan, who failed to honor the consensus on the one hand and expect the mainland side to show goodwill or sincerity. It is Taiwan's responsibility and Taiwan's turn to show goodwill and sincerity first by accepting the 92 consensus, and because Taiwan who breached the contract first. So this is the key, and the only key to break the current stalemate and reopen the closed doors to the Chinese mainland. Number 4, the Taiwan independence movement might have lofty ideals, but it's no longer needed in Taiwan, which has been fully democratized. 7 years ago, I was asked by Christine Amanpour, the CNN's top anchorwoman, why didn't you, Mr. President, declare Taiwan's independence? I asked her if she has ever heard a country declaring independence twice. The Republic of China has been a sovereign state for 100 years. There's no need to do it again. Besides, there will not be any international support. I sincerely hope that for the future of Taiwan, the current administration should play down the Taiwan independence movement role in Taiwan's politics. This is in the good interest for Taiwan. So I wish everyone good health and happiness. Thank you very much.